Welcome to another Chess.com podcast. Carrying on with our mating patterns series, we're going to look at Legall's mate today. It's a very simple mating idea, but it can crop up in some quite complicated positions and complicated games. But in its purest form, Legall's mate comes after e4, e5, knight f3, d6, so black plays the Philidor's defence here, bishop c4, and straight away we see that the bishop on c4 is targeting the f7 square, the weak point in black's defence, and then bishop to g4. So black's trying to put some pressure on white's position by pinning the knight on f3. White continues with knight to c3, and then here black's got a number of good candidate moves such as knight c6 or knight f6, but he said black makes a mistake and plays g6. The idea for g6 here would just be simply that because the bishop is blocked in by this pawn on d6, maybe getting the bishop to g7 and having greater pressure over a long diagonal later on in the game would be better. So g6 is played, but this allows Legall's mate, where the knight can take on e5. And this does a number of things. Well, first of all, it wins a pawn because the best case scenario here would be for black to take on e5, d takes e5, and then queen takes g4, and white's got this kind of tempi in development, but also gained a pawn. So that's the best black can get out of the position after knight takes e4. But also it kind of tempts black to take the queen. Like, oh look, he's left his queen here en prise, so surely I can just take that. But if black does take with bishop takes d1, then we have a forced mate in 2, which is bishop to f7, supported now by this knight on e5. The king's only got one square, which is e7, and then knight to d5 is mate. So let's just remove our colour commentary and go through that mate from the beginning. e4, e5, knight f3, d6, bishop to c4, bishop to g4, knight to c3, g6, knight takes e5, bishop takes d1, bishop takes f7 check, queen e7, knight d5 mate. And like I've already said, this position can arise much later in the game. It unfortunately happened to a colleague of mine in my local chess club, who fell for this mate on after about 12 or 13 moves, and this is 7 moves into the game. This is about as quick as you can do it. I hope you've enjoyed this Chess.com podcast. I look forward to making another chess podcast for you next week.